Long-term thinking is failing more often than you realize. A quiet shift is underway in how systems operate. Speed has become the dominant force. This isn't just about technology or business. It changes how your decisions play out every day. When everything accelerates, the benefits of patience and planning get outweighed by immediate pressures. That means what worked before for success or stability no longer holds up. The consequences ripple into your finances, career, and even your mental well-being. Understanding this shift is critical to navigating the world you live in now. By the way, this channel shares one bold insight like this every week. If this perspective is useful, consider subscribing. The core issue with long-term thinking in fast systems isn't just impatience or short attention spans. It's a structural mismatch. Fast systems, whether social media algorithms, financial markets, or political news cycles, are optimized for immediate feedback. Every click, trade, or headline triggers an instant reaction. Long-term thinking demands delayed gratification, careful planning, and a tolerance for uncertainty. This fundamental tension means that long-term strategies are systematically penalized by the very architecture of fast systems. This structural mismatch doesn't just discourage patience, it actively punishes it. Take social media. Creators who invest months building thoughtful, nuanced content get drowned out by those churning out quick, sensational posts designed for instant viral hits. The algorithm favors spikes in engagement, not depth or accuracy. Over time, this erodes quality and shifts public discourse toward the superficial. The consequence? A culture where surface-level reactions dominate and meaningful conversations become rare commodities. In financial markets, the consequences are even more tangible. High-frequency trading and algorithmic strategies capitalize on millisecond advantages, pushing investors and institutions to prioritize rapid gains over fundamental analysis. This accelerates market volatility and increases systemic risk. Long-term investment strategies, once the cornerstone of wealth accumulation, now compete against a machine that rewards speed and punishes patience. The fallout is a financial ecosystem that's more unstable and prone to sudden crashes, directly impacting retirement accounts and the broader economy. Politically, fast systems amplify tribalism and polarization. News cycles that turn over every few hours incentivize sensationalism and outrage, crowding out nuanced policy debates. Politicians and media outlets chasing immediate attention sacrifice long-term solutions for short-term wins. This dynamic undermines democratic institutions by eroding public trust and making governance reactive rather than strategic. The result is a political environment where short fads and viral scandals dictate agendas, leaving structural problems unaddressed. The mental health implications are just as stark. Constant exposure to rapid-fire information and the pressure to keep up with immediate trends create chronic stress and decision fatigue. The brain, wired for reflection and long-term planning, struggles to function properly under relentless acceleration. Anxiety and burnout rates soar, especially among younger generations who've grown up embedded in these fast systems. This mental toll isn't just personal. It reshapes workforce productivity and social cohesion on a massive scale. This acceleration also redistributes power toward those who can operate at breakneck speed, often privileging large organizations with vast resources over individuals or smaller entities. Corporations equipped with sophisticated algorithms, massive data sets, and rapid decision-making infrastructures dominate markets and media landscapes. This concentration of capacity widens inequality as speed becomes a currency few can afford to spend. Meanwhile, smaller players with longer-term visions struggle not just to compete, but to even be heard, locking the system into a feedback loop that favors scale and velocity over innovation or sustainability. Moreover, this velocity bias undermines institutional memory and learning. When the emphasis is on the immediate next quarter or trending topic, there's little incentive to document failures, analyze root causes, or preserve knowledge. Organizations and societies become reactive, perpetually chasing the next signal rather than building resilient frameworks. This degradation of collective wisdom leaves us vulnerable to repeating mistakes and amplifies fragility across sectors, from public health to environmental policy, where slow, iterative learning is crucial for progress. On an individual level, the dominance of speed also warps how skills and expertise are valued. Rapid outputs and quick wins overshadow depth of knowledge and mastery, pressuring people into multitasking and surface-level competence. Career trajectories flatten as long-term mentorship and cumulative skill building give way to short bursts of visible achievement. Over time, this erodes professional fulfillment and innovation capacity, creating a workforce that's agile but shallow, proficient at reaction but ill-prepared for complex challenges requiring sustained focus. This dynamic also alters cultural production. Art, literature, and critical thought traditionally thrive on reflection and incubation, processes incompatible with a world fixated on immediacy. Creators face pressure to produce content that grabs attention now, rather than works that resonate over time. The cultural landscape shifts toward ephemeral trends, reducing diversity of voices and narrowing the range of ideas that get explored. As culture becomes more disposable, collective identity and historical continuity weaken, making societies more susceptible to fragmentation. Finally, the relentless pace destabilizes personal relationships and community structures. Social bonds require time to deepen and trust to develop, yet fast systems reward quick connections and superficial engagement. This promotes isolation masked as connectivity, undermining social capital and the informal networks essential for resilience. The erosion of these foundational ties reduces collective capacity to respond to crises and exacerbates feelings of alienation, further fueling the cycle of accelerated, shallow interaction. Beyond these societal shifts, the velocity imperative reshapes power not just between organizations, but across geopolitical landscapes. Nations with the infrastructure and governance to react swiftly, deploying real-time data, rapid mobilization, and agile policy adjustments, gain strategic advantages over slower-moving competitors. This dynamic intensifies global competition in technology, cybersecurity, and economic influence, pressuring countries to prioritize speed at the expense of deliberative diplomacy or long-term development. The consequence? Increased volatility in international relations, with flash conflicts and trade disruptions becoming more frequent as patience and consensus building lose ground to rapid tactical moves. In education, the speed bias distorts learning models and pedagogical priorities. Curriculums and institutions increasingly emphasize immediate skill acquisition and measurable outcomes aligned with fast-changing job markets. This shift devalues deep critical thinking, ethical reasoning, and interdisciplinary exploration, qualities that require time to nurture but are essential for addressing complex societal problems. Students become consumers of quick information rather than lifelong learners, undermining the capacity to innovate or adapt thoughtfully in the future. The ripple effect is a talent pipeline optimized for short-term utility but fragile when confronted with systemic challenges that demand persistence and broad understanding. Economically, the race for speed exacerbates environmental degradation. Businesses chasing rapid returns often externalize ecological costs, favoring quick resource extraction, fast product cycles, and disposable consumer trends over sustainable practices. Regulatory frameworks designed for slower tempos struggle to keep pace or enforce accountability, enabling accelerated depletion and pollution. This disconnect magnifies long-term risks like climate change and biodiversity loss, which fast systems consistently underprioritize. The irony is stark. By privileging immediacy, the very foundation of future economic stability and human survival is systematically undermined. On a psychological level, the relentless demand for speed rewires attention itself. Cognitive neuroscience shows that constant task switching and rapid stimulus exposure diminish the brain's capacity for sustained focus and deep processing. This neurological impact reduces creativity, problem-solving abilities, and emotional regulation, impairing not just individual well-being, but social functioning. Over time, societies may face a collective cognitive decline in capacities essential for innovation, empathy, and ethical judgment, further amplifying the challenges posed by accelerated environments. Finally, the obsession with speed transforms ethical frameworks and accountability structures. When decisions and actions must unfold instantaneously, there is less space for reflection on consequences, stakeholder impacts, or moral complexities. This fosters an ethics of expediency, where shortcuts and compromises become normalized to maintain velocity. Institutions and individuals alike may rationalize overlooking transparency, fairness, or due process to avoid delays. The resulting erosion in ethical standards compromises trust, legitimacy, and justice, creating feedback loops where speed incentivizes reckless or